Hello,
and welcome back to Project Mosquito.
in this week's episode we're going to continue with our clamshell mounting hinge.
My name is Oliver, and this is my dad, Andrew. He's a wicked engineer and my next door neighbour. We've always wanted to build a car together, so when I found my dream car in nightmare condition, we decided to embrace it, seize the day and re-engineer the entire car from scratch.
Well, it's looking more and more like a car every single day. A K20 A2 from a Honda.
And make your own gear knob kit. There you go.
This might take a while.
Things don't always go to plan. But when they do, it's a thing of beauty. Building a car and making memories with my dad. One of one, this is Project Mosquito. So last week we made some very irregular slider hinge things, and so this week we've got to make some very irregular mounting systems to
get it all in place, and to keep it in place.
And to make matters even worse, there's another part to this bracket that kind of fits on here, the bit that bolts to the actual clamshell itself, and so we cannot hold it from the sides. It has to be held from the front and back.
Yeah, to allow the piece that fits on to freely slide up and down the...
Yeah, it's like trying to hold your sandwich from the sides of the sandwich.
Right, let's get on it. Yeah. First things first, I need to make a cross member.
I thought you were going to say I need a wee, because that's what they usually say. Helps if you plug it in.
Yeah, it works loads better.
I tend to find. Last week there was a Spurgeon's cast in the comments, did you see that? Thought Andrew didn't like box section. He still doesn't.
I still don't. That's why I'm not making it. It won't be box section when it's finished.
Now the only bit of last week's video that's actually box section is this little bit there. That's box section, all the rest of it's all chopped out. Say this 50mm length of box section now weighs about the same as a 30mm length of box section.
And it's not box section anymore, it's perforated box section.
In fact, it's mostly not box section.
Yeah.
It's less box section than it is box section.
And that goes in there. In there, I should say. In fact, we could even make that even lighter. Could drill either side of them.
Are we going to spend an entire day on one piece of box section though? That's the question.
That'll be nice.
I've got a funny feeling that the answer is yes. This is it. If you're wondering if all this measuring and all this like, what do you call it? Centre popping.
Yeah.
And pilot drilling takes a lot of time. Yeah,
It does.
it's massively time consuming. Yeah, last week when you got a video that you weren't quite expecting, it's because we were deep in snow. We went from being sat outside in shorts to being a foot in snow to it now being
Nice and warm again.
almost shorts weather. And we've got the doors open because it's warmer outside than it is inside for a change. Where's my wire brush? Where have you gone? Might as well go full bore and do the whole thing. This tool that I'm using is a modified round file, and it was modified for removing the black Sikaflex lines from teak decks. And I'm using it to try and get these burrs out of here because it's rather difficult. Because you can't get in with anything, because we've left the, you might not be able to see on camera, we've actually left the lip on here, and so because we've left the lip, it's not like you can get into to grind it or anything. That will make it stronger though. So there's now officially 223 holes in that piece of box section. Well, that's no longer a piece of box section really, is it? And it doesn't just serve aesthetic purposes. You see, not all weight in a car is equal weight. Some weight has more value than others. So for example, if you can remove weight from your unsprung mass, right? From your wheels, your brakes, your hubs. Obviously, that's worth more than weight elsewhere in the car. If you can remove weight from your roof, that's worth more. And also, if you can remove weight ahead of the front axle centerline, the car will turn in better. Now then, this piece of box section goes in front of the front axle centerline. So the lighter that we can make it, the better it'll be. And of course, it's pretty, which is nice, because on a lightweight car, you can't really add things to make the car look better. Because if you're adding things, then you're adding weight, which kind of goes against the whole point of building a lightweight car in the first place. So anything that you need to be there, it's nice if it's light and pretty. Don't do that. No, it is super strong. Like this. Obviously, it's 2 mil thick, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of our Patreon members, especially our slicks tier who get a shout out in the middle of the video. Andy Wood, Alex Bottom, Doug Shott and Steve Schriefer. You're all legends, every single one of you, and you help us make the videos that we want to make rather than trying to please some AI overload. And so thank you all for that. And if you've ever wanted to buy us a pint or you'd like your name in the credits at the end or in the middle of the video, then don't forget to just check out the link in the description. Thank you all. And if you can't afford to join Patreon, I've had a few direct messages from people who say, I really love your videos, can't afford, like, whatever. Don't worry about it. There's a bunch of free things you can do to support us as well. You can click like, you can subscribe, and of course you can like share the link with your friends and post the video on social media and stuff like that. That helps massively. You know, post it in your favorite forum, all that kind of thing. That helps too. So don't worry if you can't support. We appreciate you being here anyway, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Now, if only you could help me deburr these holes, because there's about 7 million of them. Well, that piece of box section there, I added 98 extra holes. So that just puts it into contrast, like how much weight, that's extra holes. That's on top of the 100 holes that I put in it, or whatever I did. 50 big holes in the top, 48 either side, and 98 little holes, I think it was. So the answer to how much weight does it reduce? A lot. It's a lot, but it's a lot of drilling. Oh, and another thing I want to say is, if you do want to get in touch with us about anything at all, we have all our social medias in the description, but so is an email address. And if you want to get in touch with us, the best way to do it is email. If you direct message us, obviously I'm on many social medias, every single social media has direct messages, and they all have like spam filters on them and stuff like that. And I might just miss your message. And so please, if you've ever direct messaged me on anything and I haven't got back to you, please know that you're better just send me an email, because that way everybody's sending to one box rather than a million different boxes on a different, because honestly, like Facebook and all that, I don't have time to look at it. I'm too busy doing all of this, and so if you want to get in touch with us, the best way to do it is by the email in the description. Thank you. And I'd like I say, if you've ever direct messaged me and I haven't got back to you, please don't be offended. It's just a simple thing of being massively overwhelmed by making multiple videos a week and stuff.
We're going to get that radius in now.
Tell you what, I can't wait to not have to move the front end round all the time.
Yeah.
The thought that that front end that's been on, it's been on the wall, it's in the back of every flipping photo, it's finally just going to be on a car. Because of course we can't do arches and bodywork or anything until we have the front end mounted and we've got doors mounted and all that kind of thing. And it's all very exciting, isn't it?
It is. It's superb.
You wouldn't think the bonnet hinge would be so pivotal. But it's true. It's a big deal. This is a huge step forward.
It's 15 mil, and we've got 2 stainless steel strips at a mil, so that's 17 millimeters.
Spot on, Matt.
Yeah.
Awesome. This might seem a bit like convoluted and stuff, and the reason is it's a very simple thing that's very difficult to execute. But the reality is that there is real benefit to this. And if you're going to do a project, or if you're considering a project, make sure that if you're going to put a ton of effort into something, that it actually ends up being a better car because of your efforts, rather than just being like a cool esoteric thing. You know what I mean? A lot of cars have pushrod for suspension, for example, that would actually be better cars if they didn't have pushrod suspension. And if you're going to do pushrod suspension, make sure that there is actually benefit to it. So you're using aero, or you've got like the Mustang pushrod suspension, where the packaging of a Mustang's terrible, so you can't fit proper coilovers and have proper wheel travel. This is very much one of those cases where there was no room for a proper bonnet hinge.
Yeah.
And
plus we're moving the weight further and further forward. We've already got a radiator in front of the front wheels.
Yeah.
And that's enough, because we want this thing to really turn in.
And so these hinges being lightweight and far back really behind the front wheel suspension, the front wheel centre line, are an actual benefit to the handling of the car, as well as not scraping the nose when we flip the front end forward. When I edited that video where we talked about the front end flipping forward, I searched for hours for an original, because I like to use, I don't know if you noticed this, but when we talk about cars and I put a photo in of a car, I like to use like press photos and original brochure photos from the manufacturer of the car, rather than using someone's photos. And I searched for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and it turns out Jaguar really didn't want people thinking that they were unreliable and had to flip the bonnet forward all the time. So there are no brochure photos of an E-Type with its front end flip forward. It took me a couple of hours to find one of a Miura, and then I was on my phone yesterday, and guess who took a photo of an E-Type with its front end flip forward about 6 years ago. I had one all along. Yeah, that'd be long enough. So I'll put the radius in here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, okay.
Right, and then wherever you need to go from.
Well, do you want me to go from there, or do you want me to give it a couple of mil for your bending radius? Because you're going to do 2 mil, yeah?
Yeah.
So bending radius of 2 mils, what? 2 to 3 mil? You don't want to put a return flange on it?
It's 2 mil, won't it? Take some bending.
Whacking it nice, smack it with a hammer, it only has to be
Yeah, we'll go on
3-4 mil.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, so leave
the bit on
3
there.
mil there. Yeah.
No, leave 10 mil there.
Right, okay.
Then we can bend it and cut it down.
Yeah, okay. So we'll give it a bit on this edge, and then we can pop a return flange on, which will make it stupid stiff.
Can you mark there just where my thumb is?
Where your thumb is? Here?
Yeah. And then we can put that flange in from there,
Yeah.
because you don't want to come too far in, because we've got fuel tank and everything else.
Yeah, definitely. Hope it is. Right, can I just say something about this? Right. One of the things that I see all the time on YouTube, right, and I know people watch stuff on YouTube and think it's the de facto way of doing something. I think you'll have strong opinions about this. One of the things I see all the time is people making stuff out of big, thick chunks of stuff, right? Because it looks strong, yeah?
Yeah.
But the reality is, things like adding material here so you can have a return flange on it will make something massively stiffer than just using a super thick piece of steel. And then on top of that, because you've made it so stiff mechanically in its design, then you can drill it out and make it lighter. So it ends up being 2/3 lighter than if you'd have made it out of a big thick chunk and just as stiff.
Yeah, I see stuff all the time, like 4 and 6 mil steel.
That belongs on bridges, not cars.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing on a modern car that's 6 mil thick.
No.
Or 4 mil thick. Any modern car now, you look at an engine mount might be 2 mil.
Yeah.
Or 2.5 maximum.
If you watch any chassis design college course video, right, one of the first things that they say is that there's never an excuse for using thicker steel. Make a better design. It's one of those things. If you just take a minute and you consider things like return flanges and stuff like that, and directions of loads and all that kind of thing, and I see a lot of people that make stuff in CAD and then cut it out to 4 mil steel. And just because you've used CAD don't make it a good design. A good design makes it a good design. And so just take a minute and consider what you're making and consider how you're making it and how forces work and stuff like that. And yeah. Yeah, another thing that you need to think about with really thick stuff as well is failure. And when stuff fails and how it fails, how will it fail? So for example, these hinges we're making so that in a front end impact, they don't bend the front suspension. It's crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, we're making the bottom half here super strong, and then if there's a front end impact, the components that are higher up will take all the force, and they literally will all bend backwards, but it won't affect the chassis.
In fact, these can just snap, and that's fine, you know. But it's the same thing as tubular wishbones, right? Tubular wishbones are only good on a car where you can never get a wishbone inside your footwell, because if you make your own wishbones that are tubular and they are aimed at your footwell, if you have a crash, then you've just made spears. This is the same kind of thing, because it's here, right? It's fixed functionally near a footwell, and so it needs to be able to basically damage and deform without joining you in the cabin. These things need thinking about. Right, I don't want to tell people off, and I don't want to sound like a big head, and I don't want to tell you what to do with your projects and all that. That's not my intention in saying what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that simple design is awesome, right? But when you take it to its extreme, so for example, a knife, right? A knife is fundamentally a sharp bit of metal, isn't it? Right? A sharp piece of steel is a knife by kind of definition, right? But yet a samurai sword takes 3 months to make, and it's potentially like the ultimate knife, yeah? It's still a simple thing, but there is thought and effort and design. And you can make something that's good enough, right? And I'm sure you can make something out of 4mm steel that's good enough and that will do the job, right? But there is absolutely no reason why your bonnet hinges shouldn't make your car better handling. There isn't. There is no fun, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, these bonnet hinges will affect how this car turns into a corner. Because we've said it all along this build, everything affects everything else.
Yeah, everything counts.
And make it count, because you put in the effort in, you know, that's all I'm saying.
If you're gonna make something, make it the best you can make it.
Yeah.
And not just quick, that'll do, that's all right.
See that. Making a template back to back, the one thing that I always do wrong is I always put the two lines together. And if you're going to make a template that's the same thing, so we want two of these, for example, right? So I've got one this way, and I want another one that way. Remind yourself to put them at least the width of the grinder disc plus a little bit apart. Because by the time this grinder disc goes down, this grinder disc is too thick, really.
1.5 mil.
Is it 1.5 mil, right? So it needs to be at least 1.5 mil thick, and then give yourself literally a little bit of wiggle room. Because if it grabs or whatever, or dad, like, not that he ever does, because you're a laser guided bugger. But yeah, give yourself a bit of wiggle room. Come hither, father. Can you see them? One going that way.
No. Yeah, I can see that one.
Well, you chop that out. I'm going to clean up that nylon dust because it looks like the 1980s exploded on one side of the workshop.
Pencil. It's what I do when we're sharing a pencil.
No, we're not sharing a pencil. You have your own pencil. You've just lost it.
Me? Lose
Yes.
a pencil? Never.
That's a bit better, isn't it? And it follows the theme of the top of the wiper motor here. If you come round. Right. This follows the same theme as the descending holes on there. Because they're going to be near each other. And so you'll be able to see them at the same time. Ish. They need to be the same kind of vibe. We often get comments from people saying, shouldn't you clamp stuff up when you use the pillar drill, right? When using thick stuff, like drilling thick material with a big drill, yes, always. We often, we're going for speed because we don't have all the time in the world. And so if, obviously with the amount of holes that we drill, if you clamp the thing down for every single hole, you'd never get any work done. But when you're drilling thick stuff with a big drill bit, yes, definitely. Because not only is it grab it and has a tendency to grab the piece and fling it around and chuck it across the workshop, which is obviously super dangerous, but also big drill bits have a tendency to cut like like a hexagon or an octagon, like a 50p, or like a British 50p piece shape out of it, and they kind of just knock chunks out of it all the way around, and you don't end up with a nice round hole. So definitely with thick stuff, or we always clamp it up. But with little thin stuff, not so much. You'll notice I always pilot drill everything because it helps massively with precision, and it allows speed and precision. But if you're uncomfortable drilling anything, always err on the side of caution. If you don't feel comfortable with what you're doing and stuff, yeah, clamp it.
That's jolly well and got it. All full of grinding dust.
Everything's full of grinding dust. Because we've got a new bottle of MIG gas, we can finish welding the front of the car. When we get it all painted, we can get the car out finally and give this workshop a good clean. Because you can't feel it on camera, but everything is gritty. I don't know why.
Yeah, we're going to tap the plastic so we can then attach it to the to the bracket. It's not a bracket. It's a clamshell plastic bit retainer.
Yeah. Now that's the good thing about using thick plastic like this, is it's a bearing material, so it's not galling and it's not sticky. It slides really well without having to resort to like ball bearings and stuff. As long as it's kept reasonably clean, it'll slide beautifully. But at the same time, it's still tough enough that you can drill and tap it. And it holds the thread really well. In fact, you can buy nylon bolts, can't you?
Yep.
I think we've got some here. Yeah. You can actually buy nylon threaded like bolt things like that and stuff. So yeah, to drill and tap, it's absolutely no problem.
To make the piece now that goes in between.
Yeah.
To get them parallel.
Yeah, they're really stiff vertically. Like shockingly stiff vertically, because it's not very stiff stuff. The stiffness kind of this way will in part come from our stainless steel sandwiches. Be like plywood in the way that
laminate.
Because you're spacing apart two stainless skins, it becomes a push-pull motion basically of any sort of flex becomes push-pull and makes it super stiff. But currently it's a bit wobbly, but vertically very strong, shockingly strong.
Yeah,
to say
so what we need to do now is make this bracket.
Just got one bracket on. Yeah.
It fits in between there. It'll have two flanges on, and that will literally link the two together. It's amazing, drilling all these holes you think, oh, it's going to be really, really weak and floppy, but it couldn't be further from the truth. It's really stiff, but it weighs considerably less.
Very little, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have to put a little bend in them.
It's like the beginning to the world's weirdest rocking horse.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice in this day and age just to be able to just come in, nice to be able to just come into a workshop.
Yeah.
Not worry about time. Not worry about anything. Just so long as it's right.
Yeah.
That's like a rarity in these days.
It's the beauty of, well, the thing is, it's not, this is why we are adamant that we don't want to make parts to sell. Because
We'd never make any money.
we'd never make any money. You know, a couple of you mentioned that we could, you know, make these to sell and stuff. The problem is that this will fit this car and only this car.
And there's only one of these, and there'll only ever be one of these.
Yeah, and the kinematics of this hinge is completely different. If you could build this kind of hinge for another car,
Yeah.
but the kinematics would be different. The shape of your banana would be different depending on the car. But I think the reason why people haven't done this before is it wouldn't work well on a monocoque, packaging wise. Not that it couldn't work well, but.
Anybody else would have made these holes, like, instead of having a 6mm screw and a 6mm bolt, they'd have made them like 6.5mm.
Yeah.
And you've got a bit of wiggle room, but then that's it, everything wiggles then.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a pain to get it all lined up. Whereas we're setting all of this solid, and all of our adjustment will be in the bracket that fits to the bonnet. Because after all, you do need to be able to align your bonnet. They still fit, perfect.
yeah, there's still room for them.
And the hinge can articulate, no problem. With the bonnet stays in place, nothing's in the way of anything else. Job's a good one. Go on, let's see if it fits.
So the top of the hinge just clears the bonnet there. There's not much clearance, it's only a couple of mil. But yeah,
That's enough.
that's enough.
Well, that's about it for this week.
Yep, it's worked out really well. It's a very simple design, but it did take quite a lot of making, quite time consuming.
Yeah, it's one of those things, because we haven't found a single other person that's ever made a bonnet hinge like this. If you have heard of anybody doing anything like this, please let us know in the comments. But as far as we know, we're the first to come up with it.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing to draw from. There's no example.
There's no reference.
And so, you kind of just invented. And so, yeah, it's beautifully simple, but rather complicated.
Yeah, all at the same time. Yeah. But it is lightweight.
Oh, definitely. A heck of a lot lighter than that original hinge. And of course, it's no longer out in front of the front wheels. It is back behind that front wheel centerline, so it should even help us to turn in better. And it's not in the way of our radiator duct supports.
Nope.
Nor is it in the way of the fuel filler neck, which doesn't exist yet.
Or even the fuel tank.
So yeah, massively happy. If you have enjoyed this video, then please make sure that you click like, because it is the best thing that you can do to help us beat the algorithm.
Yep, and if you can think that, we could improve things, drop us a line. Send it, leave us a comment, tell us what you think of our design. Is there something we've missed? Do you think we could actually improve on this?
Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Please be awesome to each other, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Bye-bye.